Hello and welcome to today's lesson. Today, we're going to talk about why English is so hard to learn. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Well, English, I think it's pretty easy to learn, or it's a lot easier than other languages, and that may be true. I know it depends on each person. However, today, I want to focus on something that actually does make English a bit challenging, and I think some of the words that we're going to have a look at will be new, and I think that's great. I always want you to learn something new. So the way that I want to start out and present this is with different sentences, and I want you to participate. I want you to practice saying the sentences out loud, like this first one. I'll give you a moment, say it out loud, and then you can hear me say it. So, I hope that you said, the bandage was wound around his wound. The bandage was wound around his wound. And the confusing words in this sentence would be wound and wound. So wound, this is, well, the past simple or the past participle of the verb to wind, wound. And wound, this is a noun. This is just referring to, well, if you get hurt or injured and you have a wound. So wound and wound. I want to start out by saying that the sentences that we're going to have a look at in this lesson, they are all from, well, this lady right here, Marlene Davis. So she was an English instructor. She was a newspaper columnist. And she came up with these 20 sentences that we're going to look at today and titled the article, Why English is So Hard to Learn, which is the title also of this lesson. And really what it focuses on, oh yeah, I want to make this announcement too. If you would like to get these sentences and download the lesson notes, you can join our email community. There's a link down in the description. I also pinned a link here in the chat. If you are already a part of our community, I'll go ahead and email them to you so you can look out for that. So the reason why these sentences are a little challenging is because they all have heteronyms. This is when you have one of two or more words that have the same spelling but a different meaning and pronunciation. And that's why they can be a little confusing. Like these words down here, wind, like the wind is blowing, or wind, like you're winding a clock. This is an example of a heteronym. So once again, I want you to practice your speaking skills, say these sentences out loud, and then you can listen to the way I say it, and then again, practice once more. So how would you say this sentence right here? Okay, I'll say, the farm was cultivated to produce produce. The farm was cultivated to produce produce. So to produce, this is a verb. You're making something, you're bringing it into existence. 2 syllables, the stress is on that second syllable, to produce something. Produce, this is food that's grown. Vegetables would be an example of produce. The stress is on the first syllable. And this is loosely a syllable stress rule. When you have a word that has 2 syllables, generally speaking, the verb is going to be stressed on the second syllable, to produce, and the noun is going to be stressed on the first syllable, produce. Okay, so again, think about the syllable stress. And this is when people may make a slight speaking mistake and they end up stressing the wrong syllable, and it can cause some confusion at times. Here's the next one. Again, I want you to say it out loud first. All right, so I hope you said, the dump was so full that the workers had to refuse more refuse. So refuse, to refuse, once again, you see that 2-syllable verb. The stress is on the second syllable. You refuse something. I don't want it. We got to say no. Refuse is just another word that you could use to talk about garbage, trash, unwanted waste material, refuse. The stress is on that first syllable. So like I said, some of these words I think are not as commonly used. You're not often going to hear the word refuse. People would just say trash or garbage. But again, hopefully some of these words are new for you as we go through them. Here's the next sentence. I want you to say it out loud. All right. We must polish the Polish furniture shown at the store. We must polish the Polish furniture shown at the store. Polish, Polish. So polish, you're talking about rubbing something. All right, stress is on the first syllable. And again, this is a verb, which is why I said generally speaking, verbs have that stress on the second syllable. Polish is talking about things related to the country, Poland, the people, the language. In this case, we're using it as an adjective, talking about the furniture, the Polish furniture. But once again, the stress is on that first syllable. Polish, Polish. Then, here's another one. Again, I want you to keep speaking. How would you say this one? He could lead if he could get the lead out. He could lead if he could get the lead out. Lead, lead. So lead, I think people hear words like leader. Somebody is going to lead. You're going to control some situation, a group of people. And lead is referring to the element, this very heavy, it's gray, lead. And this is, again, where spelling and pronunciation, it can get a little confusing. Lead, lead. I've also tried to underline an idiom, get the lead out. If you haven't heard of this idiom, if somebody tells you to get the lead out, it means that you need to move or work quickly. So perhaps you're working on a team, you're behind schedule, and you say, all right, everyone, we really need to get the lead out. And we need to work quickly, we need to move quickly, we need to get the lead out. All right, if you are participating in these lessons, let me know. Write the word speaking so I know that you're practicing, you're saying these sentences out loud, which is what this is all about, just getting a little speaking practice. I'm listening, all right? So here's the next one. Again, I want you to say it out loud. All right, so I would say the soldier decided to desert his tasty dessert in the desert. The soldier decided to desert his tasty, no, the soldier decided to desert his tasty dessert in the desert. Okay, so there are a few things. You have the heteronym to desert, in which case you're leaving someone or something, you're deserting. And the one at the bottom, the noun, the desert, okay, the noun stresses on the first syllable. It's an area covered with rocks, sand, and you can see in that picture, that is a picture of the desert. Once again, these heteronyms follow that stress rule. The verb, the stress is on the second syllable, desert, and to desert, and the noun stresses on the first syllable, desert. Now, I highlighted that other word as well because that would just be an example of a homonym. These are words that have the same sound when talking about your tasty dessert. Cake, cookies, a lot of chocolate. You could have that for dessert. And then once again, the stress is on that second syllable. All right, excellent. All right, people speaking, love it. Vidya, Vicky, Gustav, Zanat, perfect. Again, this is all about getting just a little bit of speaking practice when it comes to, well, words that can be challenging to pronounce. So here's the next one. It's also going to follow that syllable stress rule. How would you say this? You see one word in there quite a few times, 3 times. I would say, well, since there's no time like the present, he thought it was time to present the present to his girlfriend. I'll say it one more time. Since there is no time like the present, he thought it was time to present the present to his girlfriend. So present, the noun, has multiple meanings. Again, stress is on that first syllable. The present up here, talking about, well, right now. It's a moment in time. It also means down here like a gift that somebody may, well, give to you. They give you a birthday present. That's different than the verb to present, in which case you hear that stress on the second syllable. You're presenting something, you're providing information. And I think all 3 of these words are commonly used. Here's the next one. This one may be a little confusing. I want you to say it out loud. I hope that you said, a bass was painted on the head of the bass drum. Let's say it together again. A bass was painted on the head of the bass drum. Bass is referring to the fish that you would find in a river, a bass, which is different than referring to the instrument or, well, even playing, singing, that low range of musical notes, bass. So in this case, we're using it as an adjective talking about the bass drum. But you could say somebody plays bass in the band, but again, just don't confuse those 2 pronunciations. Bass, bass. Here we go. All right. I want you to say this one out loud. I hope you said, when shot at, the dove dove into the bushes. When shot at, the dove dove into the bushes. So we have one right after the other. Dove, dove. So dove, with that schwa sound, that sound, dove, it's referring to the bird. You can see the bird over there in the corner. That is a dove, the white bird. Dove is referring to the past simple of the verb dive. Dove, dove, like you dove into the swimming pool. Then we have another one. Think about that syllable stress. Say it out loud. All right, now I want you to say it with me. I did not object to the object which he showed me. One more time. I did not object to the object which he showed me. This is good speaking practice, working on that syllable stressed. So I did not object. We're talking about the verb. You see the stress on that second syllable. You're expressing opposition. All right. I did not object to the object. The object, the stress is on that first syllable now that it's a noun. It's just anything that you can touch or see, an object. To object to the object which he showed me. Once again, good practice. Say these sentences out loud. Work on that syllable stress. This is all about fine-tuning your pronunciation. And remember, if you want to get a copy of these lesson notes, check out the link down in the description or the pinned comment that's in the chat. Try this one. I would say the insurance was invalid for the invalid in his hospital bed. Let's say it one more time. This may be one of these, maybe a new word for you, the invalid. The insurance was invalid for the invalid in his hospital bed. Invalid is, I think it's a more common word. If something is invalid, it's referring to a document or something that's just not legally acceptable. Like you present a document, they say, well, no, this is invalid. All right, we can't accept this. It's invalid. Now, invalid, the stress is on that first syllable. That second syllable has that schwa sound. So invalid, invalid. It just would refer to somebody who is sick and they're unable to take care of themselves. It is more, of a derogatory word that you would use. Not that common to say somebody's an invalid, but again, a great example of a heteronym. Let's try this one. Say this one out loud first, and then I'll say it. This one may be challenging. I would say there was a row among the oarsmen about who would row. Say it one more time with me. There was a row among the oarsmen about who would row. Row, row. So if you're talking about, up top there, a row, it's a noun. It just refers to a noisy argument or fight, and say somebody had a row. It's a word that you may not hear that often, but it may come up from time to time, a row. And I think probably when you see this word, the pronunciation that many people think about would be row, the activity. You're rowing a boat. You're using the oars to row, row, row. So row, row. Keep that one in mind. Here's another one. I want you to, again, say this one out loud. These are very common words. They were too close to the door to close it. Let's say it together. They were too close to the door to close it. And I think this sentence maybe you didn't have as much trouble with because these words are very common. You're close to something or someone. You're not far. You're talking about the position, either physically or in time. Close. It's getting close to my birthday or something, which is not true. My birthday's in November. It's far out. But to close something, the verb, you're talking about opening and then shutting it. You're closing the door. Close, close. Great words to know because they are commonly used. Close, close. Here's another one. All right. This one, again, maybe a little tricky, but I want you to say it out loud. All right. The buck does many things when the does, the females, are present. There's that word present again. Let's say it again together. The buck does many things when the does are present. So the buck does, we're talking about the verb to do, but this is the singular third person, like the buck does, performing an action, very common verb. Now, the other does is just referring to a female deer, does. You hear that long O sound, does. So if you're out hiking and somebody says, oh, there's a doe, they're talking about there's a female deer. In this situation, many times, instead of specifying whether it's male or female, a lot of people, of course, would just talk about a deer. They see a deer. But once again, I told you, I think some of these words are new, and it can also be a good way to build your vocabulary a little bit. Another one, why don't you say it out loud? Now, let's say it together. A seamstress and a sewer fell down into a sewer line. A seamstress and a sewer fell down into a sewer line. Sewer, sewer. Sewer is a person who sews. We're talking about that activity. You sew something like clothes. You can see that picture in the background a little bit. It's a sewing machine. Stress is on that first syllable with the long O. That's different than that short vowel sound, sewer. Sewer is referring to the underground pipes network that would carry away waste, the sewer. Sewer, sewer. Give this one a try. Say this one out loud. Then with me, say it with me. To help with planting, the farmer taught his sow to sow. To help with planting, the farmer taught his sow to sow. So the first one, sow, is talking about an adult female pig. Sorry about it. Again, not a word that you're going to end up using in just everyday English. If you want to talk about an animal, people are mostly just going to talk about a pig and not really refer to whether it's male or female. But to sow, in this case, to sow, again, with that long O sound, we're talking about putting seeds in the ground so that plants will grow. Again, let me know, right? Speaking in the chat. If you're participating and actually saying these sentences out loud, that's what it's all about. It's good just to voice these words and practice saying them. That's what's really, I think, going to help you internalize this information. Oh, true. Vicky's birthday is Saturday. Wow. That is close. Happy birthday, Vicky, on Saturday. Upcoming. Nice. Here is the next sentence. Again, say it out loud. And then say it with me. The wind was too strong to wind the sail around the mast. One more time. The wind was too strong to wind the sail around the mast. These were the first two examples that I gave you. Wind, wind as a heteronym. The wind, we're talking about the air, was too strong to wind. Again, that verb, you're turning something, to wind the sail around the mast. I've also, again, I'm giving you the phonetic spelling as well as the IPA so you can see the pronunciation and hopefully get a better understanding as to how these words are pronounced. Here's another. I'll let you go first. And then I would say, upon seeing the tear in her painting, she shed a tear. Let's say it together. Upon seeing the tear in her painting, she shed a tear. Tear, tear. And these are words that you may come across and that you may use. To tear something, they're talking about a hole that will generally, or ripping a piece of paper or cloth. Something has a tear in it. And then tear, it would be, referring to crying, the liquid that would come out of your eyes, to shed a tear, or you have tears in your eyes and you use that long E sound, tear. All right, let's do another. Think about that syllable stress when it comes to verbs and nouns. How would you say it? I would say, I had to subject the subject to a series of tests. All right, let's say it together. I had to subject the subject to a series of tests. To subject is the verb. The stress is on that second syllable, subject. And again, you're kind of controlling somebody against their will to subject someone to something. In this case, that someone is the subject. The stress is on the first syllable, and we're referring to the thing being discussed. But in this case, the thing would be like the subject would be like the person. I had to subject the subject to a series of tests. This is when that syllable stress becomes important. Excellent practicing. Yes, nice. Gustav, JJ, Bella, well done. Here's another. I'll let you say it first. And then say it with me. How can I intimate this to my most intimate friend? Together, how can I intimate this to my most intimate friend? This can be a little more confusing because both words have 3 syllables and the stress is on that first syllable. The difference is that third, that final syllable. So how can I intimate something? How can you make something clear without saying it directly? Again, it's not the most commonly used verb, intimate. And intimate is an adjective. It's referring to like a close friendship that you have with another person. This is a word that you may come across from time to time. You hear it with in certain collocations, like an intimate relationship is a common collocation. So intimate, intimate. These are all different heteronyms. And once again, I hope some of these words were new for you. That's the goal, is always learning something new and getting that practice. I hope that you were speaking. If you were speaking in today's lesson, write to me in the comments. Let me know. Just write the word speaking so I know that you were participating and actually practicing your skills. And just as one last reminder, again, if you would like to get the lesson notes and join our community, check out the link down in the description, or I pinned it in the chat here. And if you're already a part of the community, check your inbox because I've already sent them to you. So again, I think for the most part, English, as well as other languages, there are certain things that may make the language a little trickier, a little confusing. And I think heteronyms is something that definitely can be a little more confusing for people learning the language, because you have these words, the same spelling, but different meaning and different pronunciation. So if you enjoyed this lesson, if you practice and you learn something new, please hit that like button. I always appreciate it. If you also want to write to me in the comments, of course, I love hearing from you. And thank you guys for joining me today and participating in this lesson. And I hope that you got a little bit of speaking practice. So Lapka, nice. Lolly, good to see you. Takayo, glad you learned something new. Give some quick shout outs to people. DJ Flexible, nice. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. So long.